What is up, my bodyweight warriors? Welcome back to another video, episode 8 of Bodyweight Basics. Don't be fooled by the t-shirt and shorts. It's actually really quite cold out here. There's 3 things that I keep getting asked in the comment section of these videos. I'm going to try and answer them all in today's video for you. Number 1 is how tall / how heavy am I? I am 191 centimeters or 6'3", and I'm currently 88 kilos. I was like 86, 87. I'm currently gaining like 1.5 kilos of muscle over the past 8 weeks doing this program. Number 2 is where have the day of eating vlogs gone? The real answer is I haven't had time to make those 3 videos a week like I was doing before because I've been focusing on the coaching clients I'm working with. However, in today's video, I thought I would share a little bit about nutrition. So here I have a bulletproof coffee. That means there's some butter, kind of a lot of butter, and then there's MCT oil, there's some chaga mushroom in there, there's some panax ginseng, and there's some cordyceps. This is basically my pre-workout now. I gotta go Skype for an hour and then we're gonna go train. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm also gonna share with you my post-workout shake. I'll either put a link to a blog post or I'll put the full recipe in the description down below so you guys can also give it a go. And the final point is, what about leg training? What about deadlifts and squats? And that's what I keep getting asked for some reason. People are sick and tired of hearing about my shoulder, which, by the way, is fine. So today we're going to go and hit a leg session, and I'll tell you more about that one later. Next thing to do is make that post-workout shake, and then we can head to the gym. This shake is not for the faint-hearted. It's going to be all in all probably like 1,200 calories. I'm not entirely sure. Thousand calories right there. That tastes pretty damn good. Not entirely sure why I'm wearing shorts. It's actually really cold out. So people, today, as I said, is a leg day. I'm not even wearing my seatbelt. Thomas, safety first, kids. So today I am training legs. We're going to the gym now because I can't train legs as well at home. So that does mean I am going to be doing a commentary on today's video. For those of you who are interested in the nitty-gritty and the fine details, then you're going to really enjoy this. But it's probably important that I mention what my current focus is when it comes to leg training. So those goals are to be functional. I want to be strong in the squat, deadlift, those standard basic lower body movements, but I don't really care for any excessive mass gain. Number 2 is obviously to remain flexible. That's huge importance to me and something I care about a lot, middle splits, etc. So that's really a priority when it comes to training. Today's session though is going to be focused on end range strength. Jumping straight into it, we're starting with the first exercise, and here I'm just doing a Bulgarian split squat. The one thing to note about the Bulgarian split squat is that it develops both strength and flexibility at the same time because we're using a larger range of motion than if we were to do a squat or a deadlift, and we also can load it up and build some strength quite nicely. The one thing you'll notice in this one is though I haven't got a very big elevation on that back leg. I find that if you have a high elevation, then what this does is actually limits the range of motion that you can get into, and it kind of takes away from the exercise. Whereas if you have a slight elevation, you get that increase in range of motion, and it's also still pretty challenging. This was then paired with an elevated straight leg deadlift. Here I'm just using those kettlebells just to keep things simple. But what I'm focusing on here is, because I'm only using about 48 kilos, I'm not focusing on strength and really high rep range, but I'm focusing on range of motion. If you look at the angle of my back, I'm maintaining a neutral spine way past parallel. I'm basically working through max range of motion, trying to develop strength through full range of motion in the hamstrings, the same principle as we're applying to those split squats. Then I moved on to some Cossack Squats, which again is all about strengthening through full range of motion. Cossack Squats were kind of working the deep as deep as we can go into a lateral lunge position. I'm just holding a kettlebell on the opposite sides of the leg I'm working and just doing one leg at a time, kind of moving as deep as I can. And this is kind of the general principle of the workout, is that end range is the theme. I'm basically picking a lot of unilateral leg exercises and I'm just focusing on going to my max range of motion and strengthening that point. Another reason I love Cossack squats, and something you guys might find useful, is that it's great for developing ankle dorsiflexion, especially active ankle dorsiflexion. It's so much more intense than just like a squat or something. So if you're trying to develop it, it's a useful tool to have in your box. This was paired with this side plank with hip abduction. And again, what we're doing here is we're targeting the obliques to strengthen them, but we're also looking to strengthen that glute med, especially on that top leg. And we're looking like kind of where is our max range of motion when it comes to that hip abduction. So this is going to help things like the pancake, but also things like the side split as well. Just with that active range of motion, it will transfer over. And as I've said before, I think in previous vlogs, I like to use this exercise as a primer before doing my middle split work, because I find it helps to get those muscles firing. Then we move over onto some core work. Something that I'm working on is building up the strength in my lower back. This is what I've been adding in deadlifts again. Another exercise is also these reverse hyperextensions. So I've positioned the machine in this particular instance so it's more focused on my lower back. So if it's lower down, you're going to be focusing more on the hamstrings. It's a little bit higher up, you're going to be focusing more on that lower back. However, actually looking back at this clip, I'm not particularly happy with the form. It feels a little bit rushed. It's lacking that control, it's lacking that time under tension, but this is another reason why you should film your workouts, because then you can look and you can see and you can adjust and make things better. I also paired this exercise with just some straight hanging leg lifts. The one thing I love about this gym is that it actually has a pull-up bar that is big enough for a tall person. If you're a tall person out there watching this video, you'll understand the pain of finding a pull-up bar where your feet do not touch the ground. So the fact that it has stool bars as well is a bonus, but I just like the fact that my feet don't touch the ground. And then because straight hanging leg lifts are tough for that 8 to 12 rep range, I kind of, when I got fatigued, just went to straight 0 to 90 degree leg lifts. And then the final random-ish pairing is just some single leg calf eccentrics. I know I do have some weak calves. I'm not quite sure what the reason for that is, so I just add in this basically every single session, just do some basic strengthening and control work. And I find it kind of helps things just tick along. Again, it's not a major focus on mine, so I don't put a bunch of energy into it. It's just that minimum effective dose that I need to get some result or some improvement that can help my training. Then we kind of move on to some other end range stuff. This is some more weird things that I haven't really played with before. What I'm using here is basically I'm working internal rotation of the hip, and I'm using a plate to basically do a max effort attempt. So I'm going to get loads and loads of motor units for firing in my hip, and I'm doing 3 reps of 5 seconds. And then I'm taking that plate off, I'm dropping down, and I'm immediately jumping into some actual reps. So the idea is that overload principle where you fire loads of motor units using more than your max effort, and then you move into some actual isotonic movements where you can actually move that leg, and it should make that movement stronger. I then immediately paired this with kind of some external rotation work, moving over into a straight leg with that kettlebell in front. It wasn't anything really planned. I've kind of seen this sort of stuff at the FRC and I just fancied giving it a go, and it seemed like a good combo. Then I moved on to an old classic, and I just love this exercise. It's such a simple exercise, but you'll see like the difference between the beginning and the end point. Like I find this exercise, all I need is 1 set, and it just opens my hips out so much more than they were before the beginning of the set. I paired this exercise with something that you may have not seen before on this channel, but I often prescribe a lot to clients, especially when we're looking at improving both middle split and pancake at the same time, and that is the straddle up. Here I'm just using an assistance of a small block, and I'm using my hands to basically press up from kind of an elevated pancake all the way through full range of motion into middle split. Both strengthens the pancake, but also the middle split. Such a bang for your buck exercise. Gives you kind of the best of both worlds. And I find it a useful exercise before jumping into middle splits. However, today was one of those days where middle splits just didn't feel good. You'll see I jump out of this exercise and I kind of feel like my right hip is a little bit blocked, which sometimes happens with that bone-on-bone contact with the femur. So here is basically 2 band distractions that I really like to throw in
that I find very useful, especially when it's kind of loosening up my hips before some middle split work. First is basically a band distraction in a frog pose, and the band is pulling backwards. I find that helps create more space in the hip. You can also do it with a straight leg as well, like I'm doing here. I really like this exercise for opening up my hips before middle split, and I also quite like doing this with a pigeon or sort of externally rotated hip position. And I find that if I do that a little bit and then jump back into my middle split work, like you're seeing here, in which I'm doing literally 60 to 90 seconds of basically alternating PNF, seeing how low I can go, the difference is quite substantial. You'll obviously see that I start off relatively high with the middle splits. This is just a raw set, by the way, so you can see start to finish. But I do manage to get down basically into full middle splits. It's all about mind over matter with the middle splits. You've got to believe that you can go down there. You've got to kind of imagine that you're going to go into the middle splits, because it's one of those exercises that is so humbling and so hard to do mentally. You actually can do it. It's just kind of convincing your body that it can get into that range of motion. So that's what it's all about, embracing the suck. Tell yourself you can do it. But I hope you enjoyed this commentary, and I hope you found it interesting. Back to the vlog.
And that is basically the session done. I've got the big boy shake, which the recipe is in the description down below if you want to give it a try. 1,000 calories right there. That's some good weight gaining material. But I hope you enjoyed this training vlog, very focused on a little bit of nutrition and also that leg training. I'm not sure which I hate more, end range conditioning stuff or middle splits, because end range conditioning things feel like I'm doing 110% max effort work and the cramps, but then middle splits just makes me kind of question my existence. So let me know your favorite down below in the comments. While you're down there, why not suggest any future topics or things you want to hear about in this Bodyweight Basics series? Let me know. This series is dictated by you, so leave a comment and join the conversation. If you just enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button and support the channel. You can also support the channel by going over to the shop, linked in the description. You can grab yourself some merch, some resistance bands, some training gear. Go check it out. But that has been it for this week, guys. I'll catch you in the next episode. Have a strong week and peace.